Click the links for Odysee, bitch support channel on Coffee, or join the channel, get a shiny new icon, and one of the first 15 subs will get some comic books. During the first 30 seconds of a YouTube video, you can't swear, which is a challenge when you read comments like this. Theory, what is Comicsgate? Do you think you're dunking? Like, you really thought that was a cool tweet, that she wrote that and thought, I'm gonna dunk on these chads. Yeah, that's what Comicsgate is. Literally, I just entered Comicsgate into the search, and this is the stuff that comes up. Alright, so Douglas Ernst's Soulfinder versus DC's Plumber. Yes, it's really a thing. I guess I should click over to it. Alright, so they say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Here's the thing about the in quotes industry, whether it be comics or films, they're keeping tabs on their environment. They want to know which way the wind is blowing, even if they are going to go the opposite way. They at least want to know what the situation is. Comicsgate is tiny, but they can think of it as a canary in a coal mine or a trial balloon to see what ideas are in and out of vogue. Maybe it's less important with comics, because honestly, it feels to me like mainstream American comics are on the way out, and manga is already, you couldn't even say it's on the way in, it's already in, it's already number one. But indie comics are on the way in as a substitute for the American comics. Comicsgate has entered to the chat. I wonder what it's like to be a giant soy boy in the mainstream and have to keep track of Comicsgate. Like, you hate Comicsgate, but you keep seeing all these micro projects get off the ground, little $30,000 projects that are labors of love, because I'm assuming, running the math in my head, that $30,000 is probably barely breaking even. It's not so much, it's just to get the first project off the ground, and the second project you try to make more than 30, and you just keep working your way up as you grow your network and your emailing list. If you are in the mainstream, you probably have worked on something, you probably haven't worked on something you've loved in a very long time. Like, you're probably wondering, like, what am I even doing in comics? This stuff is horrible, and I hate it, and I hate everyone involved in it. The mainstream has no passion. They have good think propaganda. People in Comicsgate getting their little projects off the ground takes a ton of work. Building something from the ground up is a whole lot more difficult than walking into something established like Spider-Man. With Comicsgate, you have to build an audience, then you create a comic simultaneously. One would think the people in the mainstream would really respect that level of dedication and hustle. Turns out, no, you'd be wrong. They don't. They do not want you on their farm growing your own crops. How dare Comicsgate try to create their own stories? Let me ask the mainstream a question. How else is an indie guy supposed to get a project on the ground? And now that I think about it, even if you're on the left wing, I don't mean like a full nutjob SJW, but if you're just like on the left, and you're an indie guy, where are you going to go? Like, you probably want to start talking to Comicsgate and growing that network. Even if you're on the left, as long as you're not an SJW, where else are you going to go? Comicsgate is already an established network. Richard Meyer, lover of dozens of women around the world, planting his seed as soon as he can get his pants off in the fertile fields of diversity, he started something that grew into a movement, a network of different voices with a shared dream of creating stories and laughing at commies. For every commie you poop on, an angel gets its wings and a flaming sword to delete the infidels. The mainstream comics people believe that they are above criticism from the mere cattle. How dare you criticize us? How dare you don't like what we spoon feed you? We hate you, but we want those $4. They were incandescent with rage when diversity in comics starting getting a little traction. All they had to do was ignore him. It would have been so easy. It's like, how did Trump get elected? CNN gave him, the mainstream media gave Trump billions of dollars in free publicity. They really did. They created Comicsgate, or they very much helped to blow it up. Their insane hatred brought attention to Comicsgate, and people saw how petty and vindictive they are. They are evil, anti-European misandrists, and the greatest sin is that they can't tell engaging stories. They write propaganda out of you would expect to see it out of Cuba, North Korea, China, or Russia. They don't hire based on merit, which I know sounds crazy to normies, but they hire based on purse puppy status. Douglas Ernst is a German Christian with a gun in every room of his house. He would never get hired at Marvel, even if he was a better writer than one of these purse puppies. How many right-of-center Christian Second Amendment guys are openly in the mainstream? Trying to explain to someone who doesn't follow comics that they use an affirmative action process which results in less quality people blows their mind. People can understand the concepts of merit or even nepotism. You'd hire your friends, but you'd hire your most qualified friend who can do the job. But they don't understand hiring someone who can't write just because they have a vagina and simultaneously they hate the audience. That is a recipe for failure, not the vagina part, but hating the audience is not a good thing in any industry. Getting a sub $100,000 comic off the ground is an amazing accomplishment, a tremendous amount of work. Why hasn't Bleeding Cool interviewed Douglas Ernst, Clint Stoker, Mike Miller, Doug TenNapel, John Malin, Artie Bear? I skip EVS because he probably wouldn't give a serious interview. Oh, he definitely wouldn't give a serious interview, and Rick Johnson wouldn't give him a fair interview. It would just be a hit piece about why Ethan invaded Poland in 1939. I know it was you, Ethan. Comicsgate has created something beautiful, and it is ignored in the media, but we keep on making comics, shitting on blue-haired weirdos, and growing the network, where merit is more valued than a magic vagina. I'm coming off as incredibly anti-vagina. I'm not. You can be a trans, Irish, furry, otherkin, but you still have to tell good stories. The mainstream seems to have forgotten that. I try to imagine who the buyer of Captain Marvel is. What were they thinking when they bought the comic? Do they hate themselves that much? Do they just need their fix of misandrist cancer? Comicsgate is a fresh, new concept. It should be the standard. Dear mainstream, can you stop with your hatred of blonde or red-haired men? It's okay to make blacks and browns the antagonists. Modern comics have blonde men run inner-city gangs. That is how far up their asses they are. And since the mainstream is run by Luciferian one-world government child sacrifice to Moloch globalists, they hate Christianity with an incandescent passion. Which is funny, because the further dexterous identitarians are also cool on Christianity because they consider it way, way too soft. So when globalist vermin involve Christian characters like in Soul Plumber, it's going to be your standard projection cringe avalanche. Gee, mainstream, you guys never insult Muslims or Jews, only Christians. Really weird. You would think Epstein and Weinstein would make great evil characters, but in the comics they would make them blonde-haired, blue-eyed Germans. The mainstream just seems to skip these religious groups and sticks with Christians and Catholics. They never mention Bolshevik, Antifa, Soros, Rothschilds, BLM looting Nike stores. Every comic is just about the evil blonde man. It's about the most frickin' ridiculous thing you could ever imagine. Immortal Hulk is drawing to a close. Go back and look at issue 1. Blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid goes to a liquor store and yeets 3 people. Then he goes back to his blonde biker gang, and Hulk gives a lesson on the Second Amendment. It is the cringiest soy boy second-hand embarrassment propaganda you could imagine, written by Al Ewing, who is a giant vagina who is terrified to make a black character the bad guy. Dear Al, have you heard of MS-13? Bloods, Crips, Latin Kings, Mexican Mafia. There are 0 blonde men in 99% of American gangs have 0 blonde people in it. Blondes are a minority in America. Oh, in case you don't get this reference, Obama had a birthday party with under 1,000 people at a party altogether. What was the concert? That latest concert that just came out. There's like how many tens of thousands of people at a concert all packed together. Like, yeah, we're gonna have a lockdown, but Obama's party gets an exception and his concert gets an exception. And like, well then, that doesn't follow the science. This is insane. Listen, if Obama's having a party with 1,000 people all jammed together, imbibing the plant that Californians love so much. I uploaded that video to one of my various alt YouTube channels, and it instantly got age restricted. It's a video of the guys at Obama's party who were smoking. I better not go on that tangent because YouTube is asshole. So even in Immortal Hulk, there's an issue in a church with an evil priest. Gee, buddy, couldn't find a mosque or synagogue. So much I could say, but I can't say it on YouTube or I won't get that 85 cents per day. So DC Soul Plumber is a 6-issue series because they openly understand that it would be like, I don't know, a few thousand by issue 6. They just know it would never go a full year. So what's the story going to involve? Hypocritical, dumb, blonde idiots with crosses who bumble around doing istophobic, insensitive wrongthink. Blondes in pop culture are so silly belly. But, they built 90% of everything cool. So, no, they're not perfect. No group on Earth is perfect. All humans do horrible, abhorrent acts. But very few do great acts. Some groups reach for the stars, while others are content to wallow in filth and literally make books and learning haram, which is pretty analogous to the mainstream comic industry and the film industry. People are willing to spend a few $100s a year to support independent creators because the mainstream is so bad. I remember in the 90s when the left was all about supporting indie creators. It was huge back then. Then over the decades, the left wing got subverted by corporate. Then it just became an open corporate shill. But the left was okay with being corporate puppets with iPhones, Starbucks, billion-dollar movie franchises, and $600 ripped jeans. I remember when that stuff got popular. I'm like, you don't know. It's like you're just crapping all over the hippie movement, which, it's fun to laugh at them, but at least they had a core of dogma in that they meant well. It's like everything now is just a plastic. I remember when they redid Woodstock in the 90s. It's like people are looking at that like, what are you doing? What are you doing? In the old days, liberal kids would have been horrified by what corporate whores the left is today. And I have another video planned for one of the alt channels. Antifa is doing basically the government work. I know this isn't comics. There's a group that we're doing the anti-inoculation and anti-mask thing. So they're fighting the government. This group that wants smaller government. They literally want smaller government. They literally want less fascism. Antifa is going out there attacking the group that wants smaller government. That makes Antifa an agent of the government. And usually I correct people when I say they call Antifa fascists. I go, no, they're Marxists, they're Bolsheviks, they're communists. They're not fascists, but there's a couple protests lately where people are anti-max, anti-shot. They're anti-government, they're anti-big government, and Antifa's going out there attacking them. It's like, what are you doing, Antifa? Are you literally just reacting? You're just a reactive force now. You have no dogma, you have no core whatsoever. You're just reacting to people who want smaller government. So, yes, there are Antifa who are communists, but apparently there are some who are pro-big government. It is a weird situation. It's like, I don't think many of them are actually pro-government so much as they're reacting. They're not thinking, they're smoking a lot of weed, and they see guys who want smaller government, and for some reason Soros and the Rothschilds are telling them, these guys are the enemy, these guys are the enemy. No, these guys are your allies. You guys are actually... another video. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, guys. Go check out Douglas Ernst and the Soulfinder. And I'll always throw Clint Stoker in there with his comic Downcast. Because those are examples of small guys who work their asses off to make something and bring it out there in, like, against, I'm not trying to sound hyperbolic, but it takes a lot of work to get a comic off the ground, and these guys made it happen with no outside help from the mainstream. It's like Comicsgate is a closed circle. That's why it's very important to grow the audience and get along, right? EVS, you want free speech, but, you know, shut down Mike Miller, Doug TenNapel, a whole bunch of other people. I can say that now because at minute 15, few people get to the end of the video. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, guys, and I will see you all next episode.